Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Virginia, and we are live. We're talking about bipolar disorder today. So I want you to stop scrolling if you have a loved one with bipolar disorder. So I'm going to give you a recap of what we're going to talk about, and then we're going to go from start to finish. We're going to get this done, okay? Because this is one of the most important topics that I could talk about. And I will tell you that most people use the word bipolar incorrectly, and that misunderstanding can delay life saving treatment. So let's save a life fast. Okay. Again, I'm Dr. Bertine. I'm a board certified psychiatrist and I help patients and families understand complex mental health in very plain language. Now, here's the issue there is a huge, big emotional, because we think about mood and there is definitely emotional latency in there. And there's a huge emotional misconception. People think bipolar emotional instability. They automatically think this person is just shuffling from two poles. Well, let me educate you a little bit. Bipolar disorder actually does go from the two poles. That's why it's called bipolar as opposed to unipolar depression. The person does vacillate between the pole of mania or hypomania and then down here, the other pole of depression. Think North Pole and South Pole. However, they don't just bounce back and forth very rapidly. If they do, that's one very specific condition. If it is true bipolar disorder, that is one very specific condition, and that's basically called a person that has a version of one of the seven forms of bipolar disorder, where it's basically like they're hypermanic and they really are vacillating between the two poles. But that is rare. And let me just tell you, bipolar disorder, we're talking less than 5% of the US population, okay? Unipolar depression, so much more popular. That's why most people, even if they're later diagnosed with bipolar disorder, they're usually diagnosed with unipolar depression first. And then they'll have a manic episode later. And then it's like, ooh, or they'll be on a medicine and they'll flip them into a manic episode. Rare, but it happens. But usually a person has unipolar depression, not bipolar depression. They're not going between the two poles. The misnomer is that people think, oh, well, you're just manic all the time and you're up and down all the time. That's bipolar disorder. That might be a personality disorder. That might be a part of that person's personality. I want you to think about Winnie the Pooh. Most of the characters in Winnie the Pooh, as I was later told by my daughter, were actually characterized as having a variety of mental health conditions. And bipolar disorder was supposedly Eeyore, which again, that was just more his personality. That wasn't really a disorder so much as he was just a highly energetic, hyper little dude. Whereas Eeyore, I said Tigger, right? Tigger, hyperactive. Um, maybe mania. Some people have said ADHD, but again, that's more his personality because he was like that all the time. Whereas Eeyore was always sad and down. That's more of a dysthymia or a depressive disorder, if it's a disorder, or again, that's just his personality. So we don't want to demonize the person's like just basic personality and who they are just in general. They're not, there's there's no major thing that separates them from their daily life and an episode. You got to remember bipolar disorder, it's basically episodes, okay? Episodes, it's episodic. That's what makes it a disorder from regular everyday life, okay? I hope that makes sense to everybody and we're not having any concerns about that. I do see my IG is kind of glitching a little bit. So I'm out here in the greenhouse area because we're getting ready to go for a trip and I wanted to make sure that everything was aligned the way that's supposed to be. So now I'm going to maneuver back over this way and maybe that'll help us with our little situation because I can see that there's a little bit of a glitch, at least from what I can tell going on from IG. Maybe you guys are doing great. I don't know. I can't tell. But I just wanted to make sure that you understand this because this is huge, okay? This is huge. And lots of people don't get it. Bipolar disorder is an episodic illness. It's not just personality. It's not just the flavor of the day. Mania is the high highs. Hypomania is a little bit less than that, right? And then the depression phase, you got to remember what goes up must come down. So if it is a true mania, the person may feel sad and down for a period of time. I'm sorry, they may feel really up and have up mood, but there's also other things that go along with it. But the time frame is what I want to pinpoint here, and then we'll go through some of the criteria here. But the time frame is the major issue. If you have a day of mania, you will usually see a week or two of depression. If you have a week of mania, you're going to see weeks to months of depression. If it's not interrupted by medicine, that's what you are going to see. Okay, so I really need you to understand that this is a big deal. It's not just, oh, I feel kind of bad in the morning, and then, there's cyclothymia, which again, the person is constantly up and down. But again, it's an episode. This isn't their life. They're fine 300 days out of the year, and then all of a sudden something happens and you see this cyclothymia that'll happen within a couple of days, within a couple of weeks. And then with treatment, or if the natural course of the illness just ran its course, if you didn't have treatment or the person refused treatment, they're going to go back to their natural state of things, right? It may be a little less functional than where they were before the episode, but they're going to go back to where they were before. So I'm going to, like I said, out here in the greenhouse area, which I love being. And I want to make sure that you guys can see me just fine, because I'm going to take a step back and make sure that you understand everything that I'm saying. And hopefully folks, you over on Instagram can see me well, because I can't see it. It looks like it's going live, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to press the go live button just in case, but we'll see what happens, because it looks like it's just blank to me. I can't see that you guys can see anything. So symptoms of bipolar disorder, because I want to make sure that you really got this. A person, first of all, they're having these symptoms pretty much all at the same time. There's a questionnaire called the Mood Disorders Questionnaire that asks all these questions. And some people are like, well, yeah, I have this. But if you don't have it all at the same time, that's not mood disorder. That's not a mania or hypomania. It has to be all at the same time, the same episode. And in an episode, we're talking about several days to several weeks. So a person might talk a whole lot, but it's just during this time period. But they're doing a lot of other things that they're more productive. They've got more ideas. They feel invincible or hypersexual. They've got these grand ideas that don't really match reality all the time, or it's a variation of reality that's not quite real. They're overspending. There's risky sexual behavior. They are entering into businesses and wanting to do things spur of the moment, impulsively. And again, this is not their natural tendency. Typically, folks are also having almost no sleep, but they still have plenty of energy to do the things that they normally would do. So I want you to be thinking about this, because all of this goes into a person with a true bipolar disorder, at least some of the different types that we see, right? And there's bipolar type 1, bipolar type 2. Type 1 is more the mania. Type 2 is more, well, this person has more hypomania. It doesn't just, they don't completely go off the rails, but they're close, right? Or they don't need to be hospitalized, or the consequences aren't as dire. But don't get me wrong, untreated illness can wreck finances. It can destroy marriages. It can make things absolutely horrible and horrifying. So I want you to think about that, because again, it's the what comes up must come down. The person starts these projects, they empty the bank account, they start this business in a matter of days. And then after that, they completely fall into a depression, can't function in the business, can't function to do the things that they started, can't complete them. If you can imagine that, imagine being married, imagine having kids, and you're getting everybody together to get all these things done, to do all this work in a matter of 3 days, literally going through your entire account, emptying your savings accounts, emptying your 401ks and your IRAs. And then you're like, I can't do anything. I'm so sad and depressed. I cannot function. I can't sleep. I can't eat. I'm irritable. I'm down. I can't concentrate. I can't focus. All of those ideas are gone. If you can imagine that, you can imagine how that's going to impact somebody's finances, their marriage, their career, their lives. And that's why I say it can be life-threatening. Because if you can imagine that, you can imagine some of the problems that can come along with that. And imagine if someone's family just completely just left them because they've had these episodes and it hasn't gotten better. Unfortunately, that can lead to loss of life. So recognizing, understanding, and intervening with a person, that can be literally life-saving. So I hope this has been helpful for you. If you have any questions, or if you know someone who has what seems like bipolar disorder, or a variation of bipolar disorder, or they've been called bipolar or bipolar, and you think maybe this isn't what, I do not think that word means what you think it means. I do not think that word means what you think it means. That would be a reason to get a reevaluation But I want you to put in the comments below some things that maybe you've seen in the movies or in a caricature of real life that's not actually real life. It's not actually bipolar disorder. It's sending some disingenuous vibes. I want you to comment in the comments below and let me know what you think about that, because I would really like to know. Okay, well, this is Dr. Regina, and I am checking out. Take care. Have a blessed day on purpose.